As we head into week 12 of the fantasy football season, I'm giving you my starts and sits at the running back position. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys out there. We really appreciate all of your support this year. Do us a favor, drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below your favorite Thanksgiving dessert, as well as your most difficult start sit decision here heading into week 12. I'm going to help you out. Keep in mind that we have 3 Thanksgiving Day games: the Bills at Lions, the Giants at Cowboys, and the Patriots at Vikings. So don't forget to set your lineups before you get balls deep into a turkey, okay? My first start of the week is DonDre Stevenson at the Minnesota Vikings. Again, this is a Thanksgiving Day game. Minnesota Vikings currently give up the 10th most fantasy points to running backs. They were just absolutely dominated by Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. Tony Pollard himself had 36.9 fantasy points. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. He had 109 yards through the air, while he also put up 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, DonDre Stevenson has been dominant as far as target share goes for most of the year, most of the second half of this season. Since week 6, he has not failed to go over 5 targets per game, most recently having 6 targets per game versus the Jets, and before that, 3 games in a row with at least 7 targets per game. And in PPR formats, that's really what we're looking for a safe floor. He is dominating in the air this year. Yes, Damien Harris is back and he is involved, but this is one of those teams that it doesn't matter how much work Damien Harris is going to get, so is DonDre Stevenson. He's going to get that workload as well. So Damien Harris had 10 touches last week. Meanwhile, DonDre Stevenson had 21 touches per week. He is clearly the guy in that backfield. Damien will get his, but DonDre should be on for a very good game against the Vikings. This offense will run through their running backs. I expect at least a 15-point game here for DonDre Stevenson on Thanksgiving Day. My second start of the week is Rachaad White at the Cleveland Browns. This is a dream matchup for your running back. In fact, the Cleveland Browns give up the 2nd most points to the running back position in fantasy football. They have been dominated on the ground time after time, game after game. Even in the midst of Eckler's struggles early in the year, as far as his efficiency goes, his best game this year was versus the Cleveland Browns, where he put up over 170 rushing yards. Rachaad White was named the starter before their last game, and now Leonard Fournette is dealing with an injury. We don't know his status, but regardless, Rachaad White will be the starter of this team moving forward. Last time out versus Seattle, he played 64% of the snaps, and he had 22 rushing attempts. He didn't get any targets, but the good thing with Rachaad White is he's actually a better pass catcher than Leonard Fournette is. Where's all of Leonard Fournette's value come from? It's come through the air. But Rachaad White, out of college, he was a better pass catching running back as a prospect than Leonard Fournette. In fact, when we watched his film, he looked like a wide receiver playing the running back position, almost Antonio Gibson type vibes. So Rachaad White, I believe, fits this offense a little bit better. The offensive line is not good. They need to get quick passes out of the backfield, which Tom Brady is great at. Rachaad White should feast both on the ground and through the air versus the Cleveland Browns. I have him as a top 24 play here in week 12. All right, my third start of the week is Is it Kenneth or is it Ken? Because Sleeper changed it to Ken. Now it's back to Kenneth. I mean, what is it? But Kenneth Walker versus the Raiders, okay? The Raiders are currently getting dominated on the ground. They give up the 4th most points to the running back position. You remember JT's breakout game with Jeff Sunday, if you will? Guess who that was against? That was versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Meanwhile, Ken Walker has been dominating touches ever since we've seen the unfortunate injury of Rashad Penny. Check this out. Since week 5, he has not failed to at least play 58% of the snaps. Since week 6, 69% of the snaps. And since week 7, he has played 70+% of the snaps. In Arizona, week 9, he had 30 touches. And then last time out versus Tampa Bay, he had 18 touches. This is one of the few running backs in the NFL where you are guaranteed to get at least 18 to 20 touches per game. Versus this Raiders defense, with this offense firing on all cylinders, Kenneth Walker should be on for a huge game. I'm talking potential top 12 matchup here for Kenneth Walker in week 12. My fourth start of the week is James Conner versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers currently give up the third most points to running backs. In fact, we saw Isaiah Pacheco kind of have his breakout game last week. Now, he didn't do a lot in fantasy, but on the ground, with 15 carries, he had 107 yards, averaging over 7 yards per carry. James Conner has not been efficient, but this could be the matchup for him to bounce back in and really have an incredible game. In week 10, he played 96% of the snaps. He had 24 touches, and they let go of Eno Benjamin. So clearly James Conner is going to continue to be the workhorse running back on this offense for as long as he can stay healthy. Will we have Kyler Murray in this game? Hollywood Brown? Maybe, but those things will only help James Conner's case. I think this will be a competitive game versus the Chargers as the Cardinals continue to get more and more pieces back healthy on offense and on defense. But James Conner is always a threat on the goal line. So I'm saying a top 15 matchup, top 15 finish here for James Conner in week 12. My fifth start of the week is Jeff Wilson versus the Houston Texans. This is the best matchup for running backs in fantasy football. If you could dream of a matchup for your running back, this would be it. The Houston Texans are getting dominated on the ground, and Jeff Wilson has taken the starting running back role in Miami. Since week 9, which is his first game for the Dolphins, he has not scored under 16 fantasy points. In fact, his first game, he out-touched and out-snapped Raheem Mostert, which none of us really expected. He had 12 touches in his first game, 16 fantasy points, and then in week 10, he had 23 touches and over 22 fantasy points. So my name is Jeff has a great connection with his former offensive coordinator, now head coach Mike McDaniel, and we fully anticipate for him to continue to get the work in this thriving, flourishing Miami offense. So he is an incredible flex play here in week 12. And my last start of the week is Michael Carter back versus the Chicago Bears. Now, last time out, this offense was atrocious, and it was on everyone. It was on the offensive line. It was definitely on the quarterback, Zach Wilson, even though he said it wasn't. It definitely was on him. It was on Michael Carter, and it's on James Robinson. But Michael Carter is still getting the bulk of the touches. I think that could change at some point, but he's getting the bulk of the touches on the ground and in the air. He's still playing a lot of the third down as well. So in a PPR format, you like that he has that upside through the air. The Bears give up the 6th most points to fantasy running backs, and this is going to be a much more competitive game for the Jets. Their identity is through the ground. I think they're going to try to establish that a little bit more, and we're not sure if Justin Fields is going to play in this game or not. So if he doesn't play, you can expect the Bears to not be able to score as many points as they are used to. All right, I'm going to quickly give you my sits of the week. Firstly, we are sitting Tyler Algier versus the Washington Commanders. You know Damien Pierce, rookie sensation breakout Damien Pierce, who has been in your starting lineup every single week. Well, he just had his worst fantasy week of the season, and it was versus the Washington Commanders. This defensive line might be top 5 in the NFL, and they are really figuring it out with De'Aaron Payne and John Allen. Maybe they'll add Chase Young for this matchup, hard to say. But last time out, Washington held Damien Pierce to 8 yards on 10 carries. He didn't even average 1 yards per carry. Now you have Tyler Algier facing that same defense. You know, Cordero Patterson you could potentially put in this as well, but he gets more targets through the air. He's more involved as a pass catcher. And the past 2 weeks, we haven't seen Algier hit over 8 fantasy points. So I am definitely sitting him. I'm also sitting Isaiah Pacheco versus the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a very good rush defense. They give up the 6th fewest points to the position. And Pacheco's in this weird situation where he looks really good on the ground. And the eye test says he looks really good. But at the same time, the Chiefs are rotating running backs, even though Clyde got injured, and they aren't focused on their running backs. Their running backs are just like an addition to the offense. They aren't the focal point of the offense. I mean, in week 10, Pacheco had 16 touches. All of us thought he would have had over 10 points with 16 touches. He had 6. I know he fumbled the ball. Last week versus the Chargers, which is one of the best matchups, he had 15 touches. He was uber efficient with 107 yards. but he only had 10 fantasy points. Unfortunately, I'm struggling to see a ceiling for Isaiah Pacheco, and he's only had 3 targets on the year. In PPR formats, that's not what we're looking for. It's not a good matchup, so I'm going to bench him. I think there's better options out there. And then lastly, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins give up the 11th fewest points to the position, and we're talking about Dameon Pierce here. This has less to do with Dameon Pierce and more to do with game script. What happened versus Washington? Well, the game script was completely flipped on its head. They couldn't establish the run because Washington was up early. Do we really anticipate that now Houston is going away from home? They're going to go to Miami in this high-powered offense with Tua, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and now Jeff Wilson. We really don't think it's going to be the same scenario because I fully anticipate this being a blowout. And I fully anticipate the Texans having to come from behind. And unfortunately, they don't show a lot of confidence in just dumping the ball off to Dameon Pierce. So I don't think it's the best matchup because of game script. The only way Dameon Pierce has a good day is if he gets into the end zone. So I think there are better options out there. But if you have to start him, then I completely understand. So that's it. Those are my starts and sits of the week. Why don't you comment down below? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have a tough decision this week. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in a future video.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.